I think the 1970s was a period of profound social and cultural change, which also witnessed the rise of subliminal advertising. And this technique involved presenting stimuli, whether visual or auditory, at such a rapid pace that the conscious mind couldn't process it. And the subconscious, however, might have caught those subtle cues. And the subconscious mind is a part of the human mind that operates below the level of conscious awareness. And it's responsible for processing a vast amount of information and performing various functions without the need for conscious thought. And while the concept of the subconscious mind has been a debate amongst psychologists and philosophers, it's commonly accepted that in the field of psychology and neuroscience that it exists. And I'll talk about the key characteristics of the subconscious mind before talking about the subliminal methods that people use. So the subconscious is attributed many tasks, and these include information processing, and this is where the subconscious mind processes a tremendous amount of information that our conscious minds can't handle. And some experts claim that we've evolved to view only those things that are necessary for our survival. And the issue here, for me at least, is that it requires us to believe in the theory of evolution, which many people take as a given. Anyway, this includes sensory input, memories, and automatic bodily functions like breathing, heart rate regulation, and so on. We don't have to think about them consciously, we just do them, they happen. And then memory. And this is where it stores memories and experiences that are not immediately accessible to our conscious awareness. And these memories can affect our emotions, our thoughts and behaviours, often without us realising it. And then memory storage in itself is a whole area of exploration, an explanation that would require a whole show, and even then I wouldn't be able to give you an answer. However, in short, it's believed that there are three areas of the brain involved in explicit memory: the hippocampus, the neocortex, and the amygdala, once again. Now, the hippocampus, located in the brain's temporal lobe, is where the episodic memories are formed and indexed for later access. Episodic memories are autobiographical memories from specific events in our lives, like the meeting you had with a friend last week. And the neocortex, it's the largest part of the cerebral cortex, and that's the sheet of neural tissue that forms the outside surface of the brain. That's the wrinkly part of the brain that we're all familiar with. In humans, the neocortex is involved in higher functions such as sensory perception, generations of motor commands, spatial reasoning and language. And the amygdala, the reason for making this entire show, is an almond-shaped structure in the brain's temporal lobe, and it attaches emotional significance to memories. And this is particularly important because strong emotional memories, for example, those associated with shame, joy, love or grief, are difficult to forget. And this permanence in these memories suggests that interactions between the amygdala, hippocampus, and neocortex are crucial in determining the stability of a memory. That is to say, how effectively it is retained over time. So back to the subconscious mind. It is also responsible for... Bear with me, I have to write some of this down. Okay. It is also responsible... Okay. It's responsible for emotional regulation, and this is where the subconscious mind plays a significant role in regulating emotions. Deep-seated emotions are unresolved issues from the past, and that can influence our feelings and behaviours in the present. Then there's habit formation, and it's claimed that many of our habits and routines are driven by the subconscious mind, and it learns and stores repetitive behaviours, and it makes them automatic and efficient. And there's problem solving. The subconscious mind can work on complex problems in the background, even when we're not actually, consciously focused on them. And creative insights and solutions can sometimes emerge from the subconscious. So, it means it's working away. Intuition, of course, something we call gut feelings or hunches. Intuition often come from the subconscious mind. It can process information and provide us with a sense of what is right or wrong. And I can't stress enough the feeling that we call gut feelings or intuition. Even love, they happen in the mind, not at the physical locations themselves, even though a faster beating heart may happen as an effect of emotional mental processes. Okay, and then dreams. The content of dreams is typically thought to be a product of the subconscious mind. We believe dreams can provide insights into our fears, desires, and unresolved issues. But once again, who knows? And then there's self-preservation. The subconscious mind helps protect us by triggering responses to threats and dangers before our conscious mind can process them. And this includes the fight or flight response. And I have seen some tests where they show that it is processed before we're aware of it, like putting your hand on a hot stove and so on. And it's important to note that the relationship between the conscious and subconscious mind is complex, and not all aspects of the subconscious are fully understood. The subconscious mind is thought to be a reservoir of information and experiences that can influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviours, and it can also be a source of creativity and problem solving, as I've just stated. And understanding and harnessing the power of the subconscious mind is a subject of interest in psychology, self-help, and personal development. Unfortunately, there are a lot of self-style gurus and self-help charlatans out there waiting to take your money. So, to get back to the subliminal messaging, sorry, I went off on a side there. I was talking about cinematic subliminal messaging and how that affected. And I started with the 1970s, if you just tuned in. So one of the most well-known examples of subliminal advertising actually occurred in the 70s, and that's when it was the primary method of brainwashing. So during the intermissions, theatres briefly flashed images of popcorn and soda, and this enticed audiences to purchase these snacks. And while this may have been more a coincidence than a deliberate strategy, it had a noticeable effect on concession sales. And people weren't always right about this, and people aren't always right about making claims about seeing things where things are not. For instance, also in the same time period, in the 70s, Ritz Crackers was caught up in a subliminal advertising controversy because some observant individuals claimed that the word sex was embedded in the layers of the crackers in a suggestive manner. However, it was later revealed that this was likely a case of overreactive imagination. Ritz was merely promoting the sensuous experience of their buttery crackers, and it kind of created an illusion. So if you jump forward to the 80s, there was some regulations that had to be made because the 1980s marked a turning point in the history of subliminal advertising. People began to question and criticise these manipulative tactics, leading to regulatory action. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, they declared subliminal advertising illegal on TV and radio, and this signalled a need for greater transparency in advertising. And if we move up to the present day, in our current era or modern era, subliminal advertising is adapted to new mediums and technologies. It no longer relies solely on quick flashes or subaudible sounds. Instead, it has evolved into a more sophisticated and subtle art form. And by the way, it's worth mentioning the extraordinary subliminal method called infrasound. This isn't used for consumer sales as the other methods. It's just an effect that they use, and it'll come under subliminal, so I'll talk about that